170 crew doing decimal 0 knots. Wind is north-northwest 5, sunny side 30%, 30% south. It's a 1 meter speed. East Canada advice is Sunday. Is that all we're talking about?
Actually, I missed the degrees of latitude. The confounded woodpecker has come up. The degrees of latitude, over. And you're talking to, let me see, you are talking to Imagine, is that correct? Cobalt. Okay, so they're going to be here a bit quicker than they thought. I thought they would be. All right, thank you for that. Do you not have the woodpecker up there yet? Over. Yeah, it's just gone off here too. All right. Oh, thanks for that. Catherine will be pleased. They're getting in. Conditions are exactly what we've got here, actually, the north-northwest 5. So that's interesting. Sunny, 30% cloud cover. Well, it's not that sunny here. All right, I'll put it back to you to see if you can find the other two. I'd be interested to know how Envy's fuel supply is going. Over.
Okay, this is Mike Caddy for Relay. Looking for the vessel Envy. Envy, are you there? Nothing to do, Envy. I'll try Imagine again. Imagine. This is Mike Caddy for Relay. Imagine. This is Mike Caddy.
Thank you very much for trying, Andrew. You're coming up really strong and then you fade a bit too. Okay, I'll see if there is anybody else that wants to give a position. We have Kuperi's position has come in. And who else have we got? We've got Taranui. So, yep, that's about it. Resolution 3, if you're listening, it's a Salthouse powerboat on its way. They put in a report on following sea, but no position. So wherever Resolution 3 is, they've got light easterly breezes and a less than 1 metre swell. Perfect conditions for a powerboat. And maybe they're quite close to New Zealand, but we certainly don't know where they are exactly. So is there anybody else? The relay, go ahead. Sounds a good, strong relay. That's good.
Good morning, Patricia. This is Make It Live. Relaying for Envy. They are 30 miles from Opua.
Wow, 30 miles from Opua. Thank you very much, Diego. Boy, you're booming in this morning. So Envy will be very, very pleased to get into Opua today after a fairly extended trip, but it'll be beautiful, calm conditions. Hopefully their fuel supply will last. Did they comment on how much fuel they've got left? Over.
Well, they beat the front.
Eight to 9 knots, boy, they'll be very lucky to be sailing. It's quite light winds, but a great direction, so that's excellent. I missed the last comment, but if Envy, if you are listening, welcome to New Zealand. I'm sure you're very happy to be there. So have a good landfall there. Thanks, Diego. Looks pretty nice in New Caledonia, over. What did you say?
He's
Sorry, just say that again. I've got the woodpecker going. Oh, that's all right. Yeah, no problem. That's what we're here for. Thank you. Yeah, we've got this confounded woodpecker. Comes and goes. What we'll do is do a pause every now and again. If it gets too strong for you guys to hear, that's the important thing. We'll move to 8297 because it's also on 8779. So, folks, if you are listening, we will, when we start the net, we'll go to 8297 if we do get into problems with the confounded woodpecker. Haven't had the woodpecker for a while. We've been getting the over the horizon radar, but haven't had this one. Okay, is there anybody else? Any relays for anyone? I thought what I could do before we start at 7 o'clock, and there has been some confusion, folks, as to when we start. Usually through the year, we start at 7:15. That has been traditional from way back when we first started the net. We used to have Jim from Also Island up there starting at 7, so we had him for about 15 minutes, and then we started our net at 7:15. But now that propagation is changing, just like our cloud cover here, now that the propagation is changing, we've advanced it to 7 o'clock. But I am here earlier to take any position reports or any general chit-chat of reports before we start at 7. So we've got a few minutes. There was a very good article in the paper this morning. One of the survivors from the yacht Essence, that's the Bavaria 49 that sunk off Cape Ret, had an interview in the paper to describe what happened. It was very interesting. I'll just read you a bit of that for a few minutes. They did get very, very heavy seas when they were about, close to New Zealand in the Bay of Islands. It can burst up really, really quickly. One year, David and I, we were in our Hans Christian at that stage, and at midnight, I stood on the deck in flat, calm weather and sang the national anthem. I went to bed, and at about 4 o'clock, only 4 hours later, I awoke to cursing and swearing, actually, because the double low that David had told everybody else about had struck, and the seas and wind just went berserk. And that was, I was asleep for a bit, but it just went berserk. We were only 15 miles from Opua, 15 miles from Opua, with total chaos in the weather system. And to boot, actually, we had a container ship bearing down on us. But that's another story. Back to the yacht Essence. They took on they just got a huge wave broke over them. 2 of them, Bruce Goodwin and the captain, Stuart Peterson, went overboard. They were tethered, of course, but they got dragged along, and in fact Bruce got dragged along underwater for some time until he was hauled back by the captain, Stuart, who got back on board. The boat was in a real mess, knee-deep in water below. The yacht's windows had been sucked out of their frames, so water was just pouring in at an enormous rate, much more than the vessel's pump systems could handle. So they made radio contact to give the emergency. The yacht's emergency beacon and the life raft had all been swept out of the boat. The beacon and, of course, the life raft had gone from on top of the boat. So they were on their own. They gathered in the cockpit and they stayed there for about 20 minutes, but there was so much water coming into the boat, the bow went right down, and so they had to get in the water, which is fortunate they did, because they got in the water just in time. The yacht went down really, really quickly, just nosed down, and that was it. So there they were, all alive. 4 sailors clipped their harnesses together and they waited, knowing that they had put a alert out. And an interesting thing was, and this has happened with dolphins as well, but an albatross came and sat beside them. So they did have a bit of company in the water, and then a couple of hours later, the Orion came by and dropped the life raft. And they were pretty clever. They dropped it. At first, they thought it was too far away. It was about 50 meters away, but they had judged the seas and winds perfectly and came towards them. And 2 of them got into it, but the captain and his wife, they just had to hold them beside the raft. And then the helicopter came, and you probably know what happened then. They dropped actually a medic who clamped them on, took Stuart first up. He was still alive at that stage, but unfortunately died in the helicopter. So that was an interesting report. The Bavaria was an older model, but it was well maintained. All right, this is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David, with you again on this Friday morning. I'm going to put a line through my cloud cover report because it is now 100% cloud cover here at Gulf Harbour. Very, very high cirrus with a bit of stratus underneath it. 14 degrees, 1019.1, rising, and a very, very light north-northwest, mostly northerly, but just slightly north-northwest wind. So we're breathing a sigh of relief. The wind was getting to be a bit annoying, actually. All right, we have a few reports in. We have Jolly Foo. Good morning, Lynn and Bruce. They've got good sailing. They left Fiji. And a couple of hours ago, they were at 1858. We'll call it 19. They'll be there now. 175 east. They left Fiji. They've now got 18 knots of southeast, 1.5 meter swell from the southeast, and 80% cloud cover. They seem to have made pretty good progress and enjoying the sail. Kuperi. Now, this is going to be an interesting one, folks, because Kuperi left Newcastle. He hopes to get to Nelson. It's always a challenge to get right down to Nelson, and he's got a good plan of attack. He's going to wait until he gets down to the 30-odd mark. We'll be talking on Monday to see what things are like. But currently, Kuperi is at 2328 and 16607. Got 16 knots of easterly, so that's pretty good. Clear skies, a 2 meter southeast swell with a 1 meter sea on top, so pretty good progress going there. I don't know how David's going to do the weather this morning because there's people leaving from all sorts of places and going to all sorts of places. So we'll wait and see how he's going to handle it all. I know we've got boats at Minerva Reef too. Good morning to Imagine. I know you're there. Imagination, should I say, John and Lorella. So we've got boats all over the place wanting to get to places. We've even got Exocet Strike wanting to leave for Bundaberg today. So they are going every which way. So we'll wait and see how David handles all of that. Good morning to Koromiko and Jasper too. Yeah, they're sort of sailing together. Last evening, haven't seen the report this morning yet, but last evening Koromiko was getting southeast 10 to 15 with 1 to 2 meters. They had about 680 miles to go last night, but that will have changed now. So yeah, we've got a few things happening. Pakaleloa, they're on their way today to Minerva, so you'll have plenty of masts to know where Minerva is when you get close to North Minerva. That's about it. Oh, Kuhala is heading to Mato. I just talked to Diego. It's a pretty nice day in New Caledonia. Mato, last night, evidently, they had east-southeast 18 until about midnight, but now it's no wind, clear skies, and 1017.5. So pretty decent conditions for doing anything in the Southern Lagoon, I would think. We've just heard from Cobalt and Envy. Hoping to hear from Imagine. You had somebody at Great Barrier Island fairly keen to know where Imagine is. But we had Cobalt at 3121 and 17254, north-northwest 5, so the motor is on there. coming in on Sunday, so hopefully, I haven't even looked at the weather, but I do know it's good on Sunday because we always take notice of what the weather's like for our shooting on Sunday. So that will be a nice arrival. I hope the dolphins are out, and Envy is going to be coming in today. So they're sailing actually, so there's a little bit of wind out there, 8 to 9 knots from the northwest. Okay, let's have a quick look at news, because there is in fact some good news today. Turkey has agreed to halt its military offensive in Syria to allow a Kurdish withdrawal. The US's Mike Pence and Pompeo went there on separate planes, and I guess they were fairly strong words, but that is really, really good news. And even good news from Europe. The EU leaders have endorsed Boris Johnson's Brexit deal. Thankfully. Oh, God, I wonder what they're going to talk about on the news now.
That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. But anyway, he's managed to persuade them, so now he has to make sure his own parliament is going to ratify that. He's off to Brussels for a 2-day yak, or as David would say, a good blather. And so that should be sorted out over the weekend. So, boy, all of these people that moaned about Mr. Trump pulling out of Syria, it's all the Democrats. The Democrats are pretty good at sending their young men off to war. They sent quite a few tens of thousands 50 years ago to Vietnam, and they seem to want to do it again in the Middle East. But Mr. Trump said that he was going to pull people out of the Middle East, his own people. And let's face it, the Middle East is a lot closer to Europe and Russia than it is to America, so good for him. Okay, I'm not meant to make comments on that. Oh, let's have a look what else there is.
No, but I'm glad you did. I'm getting sick and tired of these politicians sending our young boys out there.
Yes, he
it's absolutely ridiculous.
He was one of the young boys 50 years ago. Nothing new from Tonga, by the way, in the way of the Meta Shoal eruption. I checked on that. There's been no further activity there. What else was I going to? Oh, I did laugh at this one. It's really not all that important. But the leading car, it was a Dutch team actually, in the World Solar Challenge. This was from Darwin to Adelaide. A lot of vehicles in it. It's 3,000 kilometres, and they were only 250 kilometres from the finish. And it burst into flames, and it actually burnt to the ground. There wasn't much left but ash. So it looks like the Belgian team will now win. Actually, the Dutch were not having a good time because one of their other teams succumbed to the wind. It got blown over and destroyed.
An electric car for sale cheap.
Yes, electric car for sale cheap. Okay, Pringles. This is for our Italian cruisers. Pringles have run into trouble in Italy. They were selling a flavour called Prosecco and Pink Peppercorn. Oh, dearie me. And as Prosecco is a protected name, it's got DOC status. That's the denomination of controlled origin that things like champagne and mozzarella and, oh no, not mozzarella. But anyway, Prosecco is one of those. They've had it since 2009, and they rightfully decided that using it on a potato chip would harm the image. Okay. I agree with them, Dave. Yes. All right. GM in America. They've been on strike, the workers, for a month, and it appears that they have sorted out their troubles, the GM and the unions, so they are going to go back to work. It doesn't say when. But in Chicago, 25,000 teachers are going on strike today. The educators, as they are called, want higher pay, smaller classes, and support staff, more support staff. Well, that sounds like teachers all over the world, doesn't it? But something that isn't interesting from North America, California is today launching the nation's first statewide earthquake early warning system. They have ground motion centers all through the state, and these will detect motion well before people can, and so a text will go out. So if you're really, really quick, you can get somewhere safe. I think you'd need to be really, really quick. This is actually the 30th anniversary of the big earthquake that they had, the 6.9, which hit the Central Coast in 1989 and killed 63 people. There's been another earthquake actually in the Philippines, which has killed quite a few people, 6.3. And that just reminds me, if you wanted to know about earthquakes in New Zealand, you need on your cell phone to download the Red Cross app. It's easy to find if you go to the App Store. Just download or just Google Red Cross app for New Zealand and you will get similar warnings. You can also log on to weather warnings on the same app. You have a comment?
Yeah.
I hope it's a short one.
Well, with the earthquake business, they could save an awful lot of money. Just listen to the dogs.
No, the crickets.
A few minutes.
Crickets.
Well, the crickets too, but a few minutes. I mean, I lived in California for 25 years, and the dogs just start howling minutes, well before the actual earthquake strikes. So that could be a savings.
Yeah, well, the dogs also howl when the postman goes by, so you'd be running to under the table quite a lot, wouldn't you? All right, folks, let's have a look at some of the reports coming in. Counting stars, they're at Matra, outside Noumea. Where did the... Oh, no, don't see the weather report. Oh, there's quite a few weather reports here. Eagle's Wings, Port Vila, 3 knots east-southeast. A few sprinkles up there. Savu, overcast, light rain, what a surprise. 6 knots from the southeast, 1015. Valak in the Blue Lagoon. I wonder if the pumice is still there. East-northeast, 7 to 10. 60% cloud cover. It's a bit of cumulus and alto Q. Imagine and Port Dinnerau didn't say, oh, it just says good morning, and good morning to you guys. Amazing Grace up there at Pacific Harbour, 100% cloud cover, 10 knots, 5 to 10 knots southeast, 1012, it's sort of steady. And local talent's about 8 miles north of Noumea, in one of the bays there. Probably pretty nice up there. Muscat Cove, light winds, 70% cloud cover, 1014.5, 27, good morning to Whistler. And here we have Noumea, 19 degrees. Oh, it's not too bad, 1017. Same in Dinnerau, 1017. Good morning to Archipelago. Wire, here we go. Slight breeze, Bar, 1014. And it's pretty nice there, so that's good. All right, I think that's about it. I'm going to do a pause. I wouldn't mind getting the Imagine result where they are. So I'm going to do a pause and then I'm going to ask you, iCandy, to find Imagine for me. Okay, go ahead, iCandy, and see if you can call Imagine. No, that's imagination. You've got 2 minutes and then it's you.
Roger, copy the Imagine position of 321 of 3000. 1, 2, 4, 7, 8. Is that something about?
His course is going to be variable as it gets down to 9 pin. Okay, I've got all of that, Andrew. Just repeat their boat speed. Over. Thank you very much. I got all of that. So, yep, they'll be in as forecast tomorrow. Thank you. And I'm going to pass the microphone now. Bang on time. Boy, we're good.
Yeah, we are very good. You know how sick to death I am of this hummus business. But you're the chemist. If you ground up, you know how light and whatnot that is. You took a hammer to that stuff and added some seasonings and then a little bit of milk. You could make a hummus for your sandwiches. What do you think?
Yeah, you have to have a lot of flavoring.
All right. Good morning, everybody. And a quick look at 500 millibar shows a ridge just south of Fiji and a very sharp shortwave trough in the mid-Tasman. Now this is followed by a second fairly weak ridge. Then we've got a long wave trough in the Bight of Oz. Now quite a bit of vorticity or spin, if you will, in that shortwave that I talked about. So what does that mean to the surface? Well, under the ridge, under the 500 ridge, basically we find a very mellow surface high. I would say about 1024 central pressure. Very, very nice. Now under the shortwave trough is our very well wound up depression. It's about 992 now. The center is located near about 41 south and 160 east. Now the cold front is nearing New Zealand. NV got in just in time. That particular front, by the way, extends all the way over to Bundaberg. That's a very, very long front. These two features are the main events for us here in the Southwest Pacific. Now, the odds on the final approach to New Zealand, the winds near Cape Reinga, North Cape, up to 34 south, you're going to find northwesterlies, 20 to 25 knots, favoring 25. And by dinner, north-northwest, it changes just a little bit. Now, the front makes landfall. My projection on that is 1 a.m. Saturday. So, tonight, midnight to 1 a.m., it's going to hit the coast. Northwest winds getting up to about 35 knots and a little bit higher in gusts. So good job, NV. You had a bit of a battle, but you got in very well. Now, a second front runs up New Zealand on Sunday, and it reaches the North Island in the Monday time frame with southeasterlies pushing it along. Not looking too strong at this point, so that's very good news for the boats that have not quite got in yet. Now, the first front dissipates fairly quickly. It's going to be heading north and east, and from what I could see, it's going to dissipate. Light air at 30 south by around lunchtime Saturday. Now, by Monday, I think we're going to be looking at light northwesterlies over northern New Zealand. And on Tuesday, expect southwest near New Zealand all the way up to about 30 south. Now, there will be some weak frontal bands in this. I would say they'll be passing northern New Zealand and then working their way up to the northeast as they go onto the cruising routes. Now, Tuesday into Wednesday, the winds over Cape Reinga are going to be near 30 knots, I reckon. They're going to be all southwest. Fresh to strong winds, still continuing through Thursday, the 24th. And they'll be south-southwest to southwest, right in there. So it's all cyclonic flow. Now, the next depression looks to be over New Zealand Sunday, October 27th. And that'll be preceded by northerlies, followed by southwesterlies. So we've gotten, all kinds of boats are leaving at all kinds of times. So we've gotten two basic ETAs, other than the few boats that are coming in now. One of them is the 25th and the 26th, and the other ETA is the 28th and the 29th. Now, these are not single boats. I just sort of compiled a bunch of yachts and picked the center of their dates. And so, again, the 25th and 26th, and the next one, 28 and 29. Now, on the 24th, you remember we just talked about it a second ago, near North Cape, we could see winds 30 to 35 knots out of the southwest to maybe south-southwest. And that'll be about the same on the 25th. So that's the first bunch of ETAs that we've got. Now, there is a high then that'll be northwest of Cape Reinga. So all of you will be on the southeast corner of the circulation of this high. Okay, the second ETA, the 28th, 29th, like that, that's going to be preceded on the 27th by another depression over the North Island. So we'll get the usual northwest preceding winds. They're probably going to be also 30 to 35 knots. Then they'll flick over to the southwest. So by the 28th, it looks like we're going to see light air from New Zealand up to 30 south. So those of you that picked that as your arrival time, maybe a slight delay in arriving could possibly work, have a chance for this system to come and go, because right behind it, it's fairly light conditions. So remember, though, we are looking at well over 270 hours, and you have to expect the models to change between now and then. So we'll keep you informed as time goes on here. Now, there looks to be a number of departures on Monday based on all of the emails that we've gotten yesterday. So Monday, a lot of departures. Now the high at that time looks to be near, we'll call it 27 and 166 east. And the winds for Fiji estimated to be east-southeast in the 15 knot range. Over to Newcal, we're looking at southeast about 10 knots. So that's not too bad for that area. Northeast or New Caledonia, southeast about 10 knots. So all that's Monday. Now by Wednesday, near 22 south, which obviously incorporates New Cal, but the boats from Fiji will have slid down a bit. So near 22, it looks like southeast winds in the 15 knot range. So that's south of Fiji. Now, New Caledonia will be looking at southeasterlies around 15 to 20. Southeasterlies around 15 to 20. Now, by Friday, the 25th. Yep, Friday the 25th at 25 south. Expect pretty light air. Easterlies for the Newcal departees, and that will be about 15 knots. The winds will be about 15 knots. And the Fiji departees should be seeing 15 knots as well out of the southeast, and give or take on all of that. Also then, from 25 to maybe 28 to 30, if you're fast and you've gotten down there that quickly, you'll all be near the ridge axis at that point. So that will more than likely be a motor sail, very light air, let's put it that way. Could be quite variable, that's why I say motor sail. Not only is the wind light, but it's hard to really discern the direction right there in the middle. So at 30 south by Sunday, again, some of the yachts are faster, some are slower, but let's assume that you get to 30 south by Sunday. A bit slower, maybe you leave later than Monday. Anyhow, at 30 south, still light air. The direction is continuing to be variable. And also Sunday marks the arrival of the second depression over New Zealand. And that's as we discussed a minute ago. So it's going to move pretty quickly. So by Tuesday, the high is going to be west-northwest of Cape Reinga. The winds are going to be southwest around 15 knots. That's in close to shore. But at 33 south, we're looking at south to south-southeast, and that'll also be around 15 knots. So arrival New Zealand on Wednesday the 30th looks near perfect as we forecasted today. So today's look, Wednesday the 30th, looks superb. It could change, of course, but as far as a beautiful arrival date, it's looking very, very good. In fact, from 20 south all the way down to New Zealand on that date, it looks all east-southeast. Those are quite perfect conditions. Now, those going from Newcastle to Bundaberg, Exocet Strike is leaving tomorrow, I think. ETA, the 24th. Wow, very nice conditions for the lagoon. Light air, what wind there is, it's going to be less than 10 knots. Variable, of course. Hard to discern the direction, but mainly south-southeast, I would say. By this afternoon, it's going to pick up to around 15 knots, so there'll be a little bit of direction to it. By Monday, now, Monday to Thursday, the 24th, so those couple of days there in between, and 24th is the ETA. The winds are predominantly southeast, and they are going to be quite fresh, and that's for Exocet and the others that are leaving for Australia. So I would expect 20 to 25 knots, but it is a very, very good direction. The arrival day, it's going to be a little bit lighter, and that's nice. We'll call it 15 knots. Might even be lighter as you get in very close to land there, near Bundaberg or Hervey Bay, right in that area. So that looks like an excellent passage. And like I say, the winds are quite fresh. It could be quite a fast trip for you. All right, so not to drag this on too long here, I'm going to just give a quick overview of the islands. I'm not going to get into the detail unless you want it. But Tonga, we've got light troughing there. You could expect cloudy periods and scattered showers. South to southeast winds about 10 to 15 today. Saturday, they pick up to around 20 knots out of the southeast. Sunday, they get lighter again and backing to the northeast to become around 15 knots. Over to Fiji, yes, the weak trough still there, remains over the group, so cloudy periods with showers, and you could get some heavy rain at times with this. About the same thing tomorrow. The winds, if you draw a vertical line, the wind, draw it right through Viti Levu. East of that, we're looking at southeasterlies about 15 to 20. This is tomorrow. 15 to 20 southeasterlies. Now, west of that line, Muscat Cove, the Osawas, the wind looks to be pretty light. Now, Saturday, for the entire group, it looks like east-southeast in the 20-knot range. Now, again, the wind shadow areas around Viti Levu, the winds will be less than that. You all know it by now. Winds a bit later on Sunday. Now, on Monday, the day that a lot of you sound like you're going, the winds look pretty good. I would say east to east-southeast. Can't beat that, really. 10 to 15 knots. Over to Vanuatu, not bad on imagery at all. That troughing that we saw on the northern bits yesterday looks like it's moved on a bit. But I do see a lot of stratus and strato Q on the eastern fringes of the group. So stratus, strato Q. But also a lot of broken cloud and a lot of blue sky as well. Saturday, the winds southeast about 15 to 20. On Sunday, south-southeast 10 to 15. And on Monday, south to south-southeast 10 to 15. That's right on the nose for anybody that wants to leave on the Monday time frame for Vanuatu. Newcastle, simple scattered cloud on imagery, nothing to write home about at all. It looks pretty nice. Nice blue sky in between all of this. Again, light to variable winds today. Saturday east to southeast about 10 to 15. Pretty much what I said regarding exocet strike. Sunday east to east northeast about 10 knots. And on Monday, light winds, variable winds on Monday. So if you're staying there in New Cal, the conditions look very, very nice for getting out there to explore. But if you're on your way to Oz, that looks very, very good. So that's about it from me. We'll just have to see what happens on Monday, who all left and who's staying, and so forth and so on. So we'll go from there. Those that do decide to stay up in the islands, enjoy it a little bit more. Again, remember that that one arrival date that I gave you, that's looking very, very nice for getting into New Zealand. That might be a target for you at that point. So we'll see on Monday how that's still looking. And that was Wednesday the 30th again, Wednesday the 30th. Okay, here's the chief.
Yeah, I was just checking to see if a report had come in from Midnight Sun, so I'll get somebody, well, I'll give you a call in a minute, John and Wendy. Just wanted to let you know, folks, we do, before the net, check any reports that might have come in on the YIT or Following Sea sites. A couple of boats also send text messages. Don't know how that happens, but I guess through the satellite system. It's all beyond me. It was much different in our day. So whatever means you have of letting us know where you are, we'll be sure to find those in whatever system it is. I also have WhatsApp, so you can do that. What else do we have? That's about it. And the radio, which is how the whole thing started. Midnight Sun, Gold Harbour Radio. I think he's there. Does anybody copy Midnight Sun? Nothing heard. Well, if you are there, I might have imagined it, but I thought I heard Midnight Sun. But anyway, is there anybody else wanting to make contact?
Somebody's there, but
I would appreciate a relay if anybody has. I'm sure there's somebody there, but we can't work it out. Well, we haven't got a show of working it out here. Is there anybody can give us a relay, at least to know who the boat is? I can. You go ahead. Jeez, I can't even hear Sailmore, and they came in well yesterday, or the day before. We're still going, folks, on streaming, but
you need to get the sunsweat data for your first.
yeah, I should. Well, I've got enough to do in the morning without going on the flipping bomb site looking at the sunswat data and the propagation figures.
I don't care about them.
You're busy on your muffin. Oh, we'd like a brief discussion on what to look at leaving New Cal for Bundy. You were going to do that.
I just did.
Hi from
I see all the winds. What are you talking about?
No, what systems to look at? You know, sort of the general
It's a
overall.
high.
Aha.
Yeah, they're going to get southeasterlies.
No, but generally speaking, I think what they want to know is generally speaking.
A high southeast wind.
Southeast, okay,
What-
a high
what's all about
southeast
this?
winds.
Come on.
God, I can hear Salemoor better now. No, I didn't, but you come up now, and Salemoor, I just got the end of him. Conditions are changing. Can you quickly, whilst they are decent, give me the report? Over. Okay, yeah, it's interesting because I got Salemoor really well the last time. All right, I've got that. Well, as much as I need for Midnight Sun. I didn't get their boat speed. Boat speed, please. What was it? Again? Oh, this is hopeless. It's in and out. Anyway, I have got their position and very light winds, 5 knots from the southeast. So, did I get that correct? 5 knots from the southeast. Over. Yeah, it's interesting. It's in and out. All right. I think we've got enough. Thank you, Salemoor. Boy, it's really difficult. But anyway, all is well on board. I certainly got that one with the 1 metre swell from the south. Okay, that will be changing with what we've got now. Very light southeasterly. David's just having a look at what's happening there from the position. Roughly 2743 and 178. Have you got that? Yep. Hang on a minute. He's just looking. Yep, okay, that's about right. So that's good. Thank you very much for the help there. Yeah, interesting conditions. They're coming and going really quickly today. 1 minute it's really clear, and the next minute it's not.
It's going to be very late tomorrow.
Very light winds tomorrow. Very light winds tomorrow.
Be motoring.
It'll be a motor day tomorrow. Just having a quick look. Akushla's leaving Port Vila, heading north. Okay, he's going to be around. He likes Vanuatu, as did we. We ended up being back in Vanuatu 3 times. So I think Malia's beckoning. Their local talents are probably going to leave Tuesday for New Zealand. Okay. And Andy Amo's up at Matai and Tabiuni. Troughy weather, as we see on the satellite picture. Finally reached them. And heavy rain. 90% cloud cover, southeast 16. So I guess they're not going to be snorkeling today. All right, folks, I think that's it from what we can hear. It's getting a bit late for hearing properly anyway. So we will be back again on Monday. Enjoy the weekend wherever you are, especially if you're sailing. And we will be back again on Monday. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, and we're clear. The frequencies are all yours. Yeah, we might even need to start 15 minutes earlier again, but we'll see next week.
Gaggle of them that
The
left.
gaggle.
And we haven't heard from any of them. Of course, they'd be below.